Hello, everyone. Welcome to Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more. Hope you like what you see. If you like it, please hit the subscribe button and say you like it. Today's kind of a special chat we have today. We have Louie Manzo. Thank you for joining me, Louie. You are the owner and operator of Cabin.
Yeah,
And
that's right, Alan. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
so we're going to talk about Cabin Fest, which is coming up, I think, next week or something like that. But anyway, to get started, for anyone who doesn't know, explain to them what is Cabin and how did you get it started?
Oh, yeah. Well, perfect. Cabin for. I got to take that call. Can
Okay,
we stop this one?
I'll pause it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. You can see right there why Louis is such a man in demand right now, with Cabin Fest coming up. And well, anyway, let's get back to the question I had originally asked. Like I said, what is Cabin for anyone who doesn't know, and when did you get it started?
Yeah. So, Cabin is a gentleman's shop. It's anchored in traditional old school men's barbering. So, it's a combination of retail and services. So, anything a guy would love to um, give as a gift or receive as a gift is going to be on the shelves of Cabin. Everything from hair care products to talcs, lotions, right into lifestyle goods, pocket squares, bow ties, shoelaces, underwear, whiskey accessories, and the likes.
Okay.
So it's really kind of a retail shop that's been anchored around barbering, and we celebrate old school traditional men's barbering. And so Cabin, the first Cabin was opened in Port Credit in 2015 and quickly grew in popularity. We were thrilled by the idea that we were creating something that I think us guys had lost touch with, which was this almost sanctuary, this, safe haven, as it were, for us guys to be in an old school barber shop, be unapologetic, have the banter between chair and chair, and focus on us for a little bit. We got into the routine of sharing that space with our lady friends, our wives, our sisters, and salons. Not to say that they're not needed or important. It's a different environment,
Right.
and so I thought we could return to that classic barber environment where guys can be guys for whatever that is, and create a space that we would kind of offer products that us guys don't have to go look for. It's all in one space.
Right.
And so, like I said, the first one was 2015. Not too long after that, we opened our second location, which is in the downtown Toronto waterfront, in Queens Quay Terminal. And then our third location opened just before COVID, at the Toronto Union Station. So we're in the train station. And Port Credit was our first home.
How long was this like a vision in your head before you actually got it up and running?
It was, I call it the daydream I didn't know I was having.
Right.
And it was quite quick, to be fair. I mean, the idea came from an article that I read and a bunch of friends sitting around talking about what's possible. And I'd say a year and a half prior to that, prior to opening, and it really kind of became, the rubber hits the road when I'm 3 to 4 months into renovating the first location, thinking I really have to find product and I have to find barbers. And so I love the idea of the creation of the space because it is very unique. It's
Right.
it's it's got a nod and an homage to a time gone by, to a rustic cabin in the woods, to a place where we would want to retreat to. So building it out was a lot of fun. And at one point, I looked around and thought, we're ready, but I really need to have product and
Right.
service providers. So.
And you've got Cabin Fest coming up. Have you done that every year since you opened the first location?
Almost. We kind of were getting our feet wet in the first year, learning more about the community and the business community behind what we were doing. So taking care of our customers. And so it took about a year to a year and a half before we held our first one. This will be our seventh annual.
Okay.
Excuse me. And we had a couple of years off there when we were trying to figure out the pandemic. But what happened was we started off in the parking lot of our first location in Port Credit,
Mhm.
and it was a complimentary night for our community, our customers, our staff, and our friends. And I recall it took us probably 2 to 3 weeks to be able to get a guest list together of maybe 80, 90 people. We really only got our kind of feet wet in the business in the community not so long, and so it took quite a while to get that moving. Um, Fast forward a number of years, Cabin Fest will sell out in a day, and now we're talking about not 80 guests, but closer to 800 guests.
To the point you need more than just the parking lot at your Port Credit location.
You're right about that. We grew out of that after the third Cabin Fest. We were lucky enough that our neighbor beside us, which is an auto mechanic's garage, would
Mhm.
lend us his parking lot and then lent us his storage area where we did back a house for our food service providers. We'd bring bands to life in the parking lot and, slowly evolve that program where the bands were no longer on risers, they were on mobile stages, and the band quality was always great, but it just constantly got better. And so I was really happy to see live music, cabin, community, businesses all getting together under one cause, which was to celebrate and share in our space. And nothing made me happier, to be honest.
So it really has cemented Cabin in the community, like of Port Credit, because it really has become something that is very well known now and very, like you said, you have a growing list of guests that want to be there every year. What have you got coming up this year?
So every year I want to try to evolve the program or the night so that there's something that you don't expect. In this case, there's a number of things that you won't expect. But the lineup, the music lineup alone is so we're so fortunate. We have such great talent around us. But I've got four bands, live music acts, three DJs. We've got the likes of celebrity chefs coming to do, personal service as well as, stop for the occasional photo here and there.
Right.
We've got local businesses and restaurants that are bringing their wares into this space. We've grown from that parking lot to a location called the Small Arms Inspection Building, which is also a very important local community building. It's
Mhm.
it's 18,000 square feet of a building that's been brought back to life because of community and the support of community, and it's a blank canvas for us. So, you'll have everything from a very active dance floor, two specialty bars, whiskey tasting, craft beer tasting, food samples, photo booths, and then everything that falls in between. There's some DIY arts and crafts, and we always wrap it around a theme. And because Cabin is kind of a retro kind of feeling, we landed on camp and set. So in fact, it's almost like taking everybody back to camp. If they've never been to camp,
Right.
this is what they imagine camp to be. It's a wood-lined wall, the decor and the installation of all of these, pieces that make this feeling like you're at camp is quite an accomplishment. So we jokingly say we're going to Camp Cabin Fest, and that
Right.
seems to be, really the story that we tell when we get there. Everything from, the food that's chosen, the peanut butter and jam elevated sandwiches that are on a panini press, and sausages and wagyu beef sliders. Like it really is, feels like you're going to the camp that you wish you went to when you were a kid, but never
Right.
could.
This sounds like something that would take a lot of assistance is the best way I can say it. You must have a lot of people that you count on to get you put this together. Like especially since, like you said, it's grown so much since you started.
There's a small army. I'm surrounded by incredibly talented people, very creative people, event people that understand what it takes to not only engage but to entertain upwards of 800 people.
Right.
So I'm fortunate, but our volunteer list is in that 70 to 80 person range.
Yeah.
Our staff that are actually on site helping people throughout the night from registration to band management to AV and techs. We'd have
Mhm.
over 60 people just on the actual program, plus the volunteers.
Yeah, it sounds and it really, like I said, like it really does sound like you've really cemented into the community with this. Because like is that the kind of, do you have a lot of like a cross section of the community coming to this every year?
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. I've done a lot of really meaningful things in my career, and this is not the only thing I do, but there's been nothing as meaningful as opening a barbershop in a community and in my community where we entertain and take care of young children, their fathers and their grandfathers. So
Right,
our market goes from, from 10 years old to 70 years old. And it's been my goal in everything we do to make sure every single cross section of that community finds that we're caring about what they feel like, that we're entertaining them. And so Cabin Fest is a perfect example of this cross pollination. We have
right.
local businesses, people that work in the community, the owners of those businesses, practically every political affiliation that can be made in the community want to come because they recognize that it's a place where this cross section of people show up. Every age group, the diversity is incredible, which makes me very happy because it is truly a picture of who and what we are. And so, if we can celebrate that and get together and have fun and create community bonds, some people actually only met each other at a cabin fest and have
Right.
become like long-term friends as a result of it. And they make sure they go out of their way to tell me or to tell my team how important that event was, that they'd never want to miss it moving forward because one of the best friendships they've ever created happened at the bar or at the dance floor or in that poutine station at the back.
That's awesome. It's always something when you can see that something you created has had that kind of impact on your community and the people that are around it. Um, that's not the only thing you do in the community every year. You put quite the float together every year for the Canada Day Parade in Port Credit, don't you, from what I've heard?
It's like my second favorite day of the year, Cabin Fest being the first. Canada Day is a nice close second. That was an opportunity for us to again celebrate community,
Mhm.
showcase who and what we are if they didn't already know. But I think we become the darlings of the parade because we put live music on the float. We have a very kind of down east feel. And if you're listening to this and you're Canadian, you know exactly what that means. It's very charming. It's very welcoming. It's warm, and it's fun. And so we'll put a 53-foot float down the parade route that looks and feels like a mobile cabin. It looks like you would have picked it up from a forest somewhere. And then beside the float, we'd have an army of supporters that are all decked out in cabin shirts, Canadian flags, giving out. This year we gave out maple sugar products to anybody that had their hand out. And that to me was a lot of fun because it really does celebrate the essence of Canada and Canadiana in a nutshell. And that, for us on that float, waving at people and seeing the smiles, and as that transport trailer turns the corner and you see them light up because they hear us coming, it's like there's not a bigger smile that I could get.
And you've won some awards for the float you put on in the past couple of years, haven't you?
You've done your research.
I have.
We
Yeah.
sure have. Actually, we've won Best in Show every year that we put the float in, and it's
Wow.
my goal not to repeat the same, but we've been there 4 years now. This might be our fifth. I know for sure we've won either most creative float or best in show, which is great. I mean, one year we were able to marshal that float right onto the park for the fireworks celebration that happens at
Okay.
the end of the day. We got permission once, but not again. It was a little too crazy, a little too hectic pulling that float into the parkland. So I was happy that we were able to get it there one year anyway.
Awesome. Again, it sounds like something that really does establish cabins, cement into the community, just like Cabin Fest has. Where do you see Cabin going from here? Do you have plans, or is there something your dream to take it?
Yeah, I haven't stopped dreaming about what's possible. Once I recognized that we became of value to our community because we are that hub, that community, that half hour of just letting your hair down, as it were,
Yeah.
and that became really important to our community. I saw that we were onto something, and I felt great about it. And so I see three new cabins within the next 24 months. That's our plan right now. We were a little thwarted in the planning because, of course, everybody had to shift the way they were moving during the pandemic, and that kind of put us in a more of a slow, methodical
Right.
approach. But that said, here we are now, and we're ready. It's just about finding the right locations and the communities that will find us. And so that's the fun part. It's finding just the right mix to put what we've created into a place that don't know how much they want it or need it until we're there.
Would it be something you consider going across the country, maybe?
100%. There's been a lot of very generous offers for retail development companies that have come in and shopped cabin to see if we meet a standard
Right.
that they want to find, and then have us go into the locations that they're developing, and they're very attractive. And you just have to be cautious in developing anything that maybe too fast is not necessarily what you want. So with some strategy and some outlook into the future, I think that our process and the environment and our commitment to hospitality and to the guest experience tells me that we're ready to expand, and we could take this easily across the country. There's a market for cabin anywhere that there's a population of guys that want to get their hair cut.
Excellent. I'd like to see one in my neck of the woods someday, if it's ever possible. That'd be pretty awesome.
Nothing would make me happier.
Um, so when is Cabin this year? It's November, is it the 15th, I believe?
November 15th, which
Okay.
is a week from now. We're just in the final throes of putting all the plans together. I love the musical lineup we have. So I'm starting it off with a band called the Holy Rollers. This will be during a VIP portion of the night, and the Holy Rollers are self-admitted honky tonk country. So
Okay.
I'm thrilled to kick it off with that, and then we move into DJs that are going to be doing 80s sets, and then a DJ that's doing a 90s set, and the next bands that come up are progressively. They're all cover bands following that. They progressively build the momentum, and that dance floor, it's electric. We'll finalize the night with a set from Blue Silver, which is a Duran Duran tribute band.
Oh, amazing. That
Fun.
I wish I was back in Ontario. I would definitely like to be out there for that because if Duran Duran doesn't get you on the dance floor, I don't know what will.
Well, yeah, and the best part is that in between there we have the Tom Barlow band. He's won a bunch of
Oh,
awards, an
yeah.
incredible artist, and his band are all seasoned musicians. And then you've got the epic performance from Freedom Train. And
Okay.
Freedom Train, if you haven't had a chance to see those guys in the Ontario area, they dominated. They've been doing it for 35 years. So when you talk about seasoned, polished musicians, they deliver as if you were to take the needle, put it on the record, turn your amplifier up. It sounds like crystal clear versions of your favorite acts.
Sounds amazing. I know you put on an amazing show there every year.
Thank you.
Speaking of music, you're a big music fan, and I do a lot of music on this channel, but this is the more part because I've always wanted to talk to you about music. Let's talk about some of your favorites. I mean, I do a lot, mostly Canadian stuff, but I do everything. What are your biggest influence? I know you got a big musical taste.
Oh my gosh. That's like the hardest question for me to answer. The influence is from soup to nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a moment in my day or in my week for practically everything. So I'm a classic country music fan. I'm a new country music fan. And surprisingly, I like everything in between. What you wouldn't probably know is that I'm a deep house electronic music fan.
Mhm.
I love DJ sets. I follow DJs. And right now I'm on kind of a musical journey that I don't even know how to describe it, but It's and I'll probably butcher this name, but Krungbin, who are doing collaborations with the likes of oh my gosh, Leon Bridges
Okay.
for an incredible song called Texas Sun. And it's guitar, it's melodic, it's journey, and that, once you start going into that genre where it's just this feel good background, it takes you to Glass Beams, Dope Lemon. It takes you into artists like Fred again, that are
Mhm.
pumping out beats and digital music that, you wouldn't expect a guy with a long white beard and in the game for so long to love, but man, I love it. I love jungle. I went to Coachella this year with my youngest daughter. We danced we danced into every possible pocket of music we could. It was fabulous.
And I know
So
you like a lot of retro too.
I mean, I love what retro. Given that my age, I'm 55 now, so I was an 80s child. I was, more eyeliner, please, more white face. And if my face wasn't white, then my hair was colored. So, and that's when I had hair. But I remember ushering in the likes, of Depeche Mode and Fad Gadget and really cool, obscure 80s sounds that in a lot of ways stood the test of time. And you're seeing a throwback or a nod to that time
Yeah,
uh, when that synthesized sound was just breaking, and they were experimenting, and it sounded incredible. It was such a rush. And then, of course, when you follow a genre, it doesn't matter what it is, it always has the fashion influence that comes with it,
sure.
and that's always been fun. From grunge to new wave to new romantic to punk, it's always been something that's been important to me, and I love watching the development of music along the way. I think, quite frankly, and not to criticize, but for quite a while there, the music that's being produced over the last decade or so was, average at best. And I think I'm thrilled because I see my kids now, they're young adults that are listening to quality music that's not been,
Yeah,
mass produced or with auto tune. And I feel like we're coming around the corner now. We're getting out of a production type of music to a heartfelt sound again with
yeah,
with with lyrics. And I love music without lyrics, so I'm not saying that it has to have lyrics to be great,
sure.
but with great lyrics and storytelling and an emotional connection. And I think that we've moved away from the shocking value of lyrics that just have really no place
Right.
play. And that's probably not fair to say because some people live and die and love that for that reason, but that's just not me.
Well, the one thing I'm really promoting on this channel quite a bit lately is that a lot of the artists that I've interviewed are come from the classic 80s and 90s realm, but I like to promote the fact, they're still making music today. And they're still making great music today
Great
that I
music.
that I wish would get more of a chance. For example, I interviewed Honeymoon Suite and they've got a new album out and it's as good as anything they've ever done.
Yeah.
Lee Aaron, same thing. I interviewed her last year and she's got a new record out and it's just incredible. I was really happy. I interviewed mid-year this year.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't realize he was in Thin Lizzy for a while, which is something I didn't know. And what an
Well,
amazing influence he's had on music over the years. I'm sure you've listened to a lot of his music with Ultravox and
100%.
yeah. So and he was really a great guy to talk to. He came and did part of his tour here in Canada this year. He's actually working for Ed Souza, who I think you know.
Yeah, for certain.
Yeah, because he puts on that great show, Rock and Bowl show every year up at Classic Bowl, and he still continues to. It's just amazing the bands that he gets in there.
Well, we're
Um,
lucky. We're so fortunate. I mean, that's so close to us here, and the talent that comes through there, and his shows are completely entertaining. I love listening to the Spoons remix their classics and come up with
mhm.
new things. And the talent that kind of comes in for that. I saw, when in Rome,
Oh, wow.
at that venue, and it was up close and personal, and it would have been it would have been an impossible opportunity in 1986.
Yeah.
Here we are now, and I'm listening to The Promise, and then standing out front having a conversation with the band afterwards.
Yeah.
It was intimate, it was amazing, and it's fortunate to have that happen. Also, Robert Smith's The Cure's new drop just happened, and
Yep.
it's, my gosh,
Incredible.
man, it's
Incredible
like,
stuff.
and here's the cool part. My kids, my youngest is 18, my eldest is 25. And I loved one time when we were in the car, and my daughter said to me, "Dad, I think you'd love this band. They got kind of an 80s feel." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, who's that?" And she goes, "I'm not sure, but I think it's it was." She stuttered on it, but she was trying to introduce me to Depeche Mode when they released their album a few years back.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, yeah, I think I got a pretty good idea who they are."
Yeah, I kind of laughed a few years ago. What God rest his soul. This kid was at a Tool concert in Los Angeles and asked the guy behind him to take a picture of him with the stage behind him. It turns out that was Eddie Van Halen, and he had no idea who he was. I
Amazing.
find that quite funny. Uh,
You only know what you know.
yeah, you know what you know. Anyway, yeah, I've always wanted to talk music and stuff about that with you. Anyway, congratulations on another year of Cabin Fest. I'm sure it's just going to get bigger and better every year. It's my pleasure to help you promote it a little bit in my
Mhm.
little way. I thank you for joining me. And let's see, let's try and make this a yearly thing. What do you think? We'll just get
Oh
on
my
here
gosh,
and
I love the idea. I'm thrilled that you asked. And I love what you're doing. I love your interest in music, and I love the fact that you're putting this out there. So if I can be part of that, I'm thrilled to. And I'm up for a yearly visit for sure.
happy to do it, man. Great to chat with you again, and maybe we'll see you out east sometime.
I'd like to see that happen. All the best, and thanks for listening.
Take care.